Hi, it's William from Gutter Gorilla. Today we're going to be going over some of the most common questions we get asked about gutter repairs, and we'll hopefully give you guys some insight to why certain things are happening on your home. And yeah, so let's just get right into it. The most common question we get asked is, can you reseal a leaking corner? And yes and no. It all depends on the root cause. We always try to determine the cause of the problem. So if we can determine why it began to leak in the first place, if they're just old and they're falling apart, we can't really reseal it and guarantee that it's gonna stay sealed. If the caulking is just faded, it's cracked, it's old, the best way to reseal them is to clean out all the existing caulking, clean them really nice. So you're gonna wanna brush them spick and span, dry it out, reseal it, and then you should be good to go. If that's the only issue you're having and they're not super worn out and not putting a Band-Aid on a bullet wound. But yeah, that was what we found. You can reseal a corner, but it also sort of depends on the condition of the existing gutters. Number two, and probably pretty close to number one, is water leaking behind the existing gutter or eaves trough, whatever you want to call them. Here in Canada, we call them eaves troughs for some reason. So there's a couple different factors that go into water getting behind your eaves trough. The edge of your roof line should have a drip edge on it like this. So say this is your fascia board, your drip edge will go on like that. The purpose of this is water runs down your shingles. Water always wants it to flow continuously. So you need this drip edge to break that flow. So it'll flow like this, it'll come down, and then this kick out will break that water and it will start to drip into your gutter. The most common reason we see is your gutter is installed too low. It's well beneath this. It should be tucked up underneath or behind it like that. So if your gutter is too low, it'll drip, especially because most drip edges are tight to the fascia board. It'll drip in behind, especially over time. The gutters, if they'll get a little bit wavy on the backside. So if they're not underneath, you'll have a bit of a bubble and it'll drip in behind there. What we do to solve that is we'll grab another piece here just to demonstrate. So we'll just grab a flat piece of aluminum and we'll stuff it in behind there and overlap it into the gutter and screw it in there. So any dripping that you get that was going behind your gutter is going to hit that flashing and roll into the existing gutter. That's what we found. It works really good. Another issue, or a roof issue, often presents itself as a gutter leak. So if you have a hole up on your roof and it's rolling down, it'll make it look as if your gutters are leaking. Water leaking behind your fascias, that's typically a roof leak or improper installation of your fascia and your gutters. So depending on what the root causes of that, a lot of times it is repairable. Usually it's just your gutters are installed improperly or too low without the proper flashing. So all that will be required is flashing. That's a pretty easy fix. But we have seen in a couple cases where a roof leak will look like a gutter leak. So it'll all depend on what the cause is of that. Another really common thing that we get asked or that we see a lot is the gutters pulling away from the fascia board. So over time, depending on how your gutters are mounted, I'll show you some different mounting brackets. So this is the old system here. It's just a nail with a collar. The collar goes on the inside of your gutter and then this will get pounded through it and into your fascia board. Over time, these nails, they let loose and they back out, and that will cause your gutter to pull away from your home. What we can do in that case, if that's the only issue, if your fascia boards are still solid, we'll go in, we'll add a hanger for every one of the spikes. So that'll just reinforce it. We'll pound this one back in and then we'll add a hanger. If you only pound in the spike, it's just gonna keep happening and you'll have the same problem in no time. If you have hangers in your gutters right now and it's pulling away from the house, that's a sign of a bigger problem. Either improper fasteners were used. We've seen that where the improper fasteners are used, they're not coated with the right material and they'll rust away and then the heads break off and then essentially there's no fastener anymore. So you have to use the proper fastener, something covered with zinc or something that won't rust or corrode over time. So that's an issue we've seen with the hanger system when they're pulling away from the house. Another problem is loose fascia boards or rotting fascia boards, which typically happens from the first or the second issue. A roof leak will slowly deteriorate the quality of the boards get soft, the gutters pull away, and at that point you have limited options. You either have to pull all the troughs off and replace the boards, or yeah, that's about your only option at that point. So we see that time and time again, that a really small leak will deteriorate a lot of the wood, and then that leads to a really costly repair. A lot of times these little minute things that seem to be just annoying that you don't really think about, they cause big problems in the long run. So it's best, if you do have any little leaks and issues that you know of, it's best to take care of them sooner rather than later. So another thing that we see is people wanting to replace just a small section of their current gutter system. And this is also case by case, so it can be done. Oftentimes it's not ideal, but if you have, say, some damage from a tree or a moving truck backed right into your eaves trough and destroyed a section of it, if the rest of the system is in good shape, then it's no problem. We can just detach them from the corners, clean them out nicely. Every time you want to put a new section in with an old section, you really want to make sure that wherever they meet, any surfaces that are going to meet, they need to be really clean, or else that caulking just won't do its job. That's basically it. Oftentimes when you have just one section that needs to replace, if it's not specific damage from a tree or from something hitting it, if it's just falling apart, it's typically a sign that the whole system is just worn out and you need to just replace it all. And last but not least, we have overflowing gutters. That's a really common problem that people have. There's a whole host of things that cause it, but the main one would be clogging. So if your gutters are clogged, they're gonna overflow, it's gonna leak behind the fascia, it's gonna give you a whole host of issues. That would be the main cause. Another cause for overflowing can be if you have a really steep roof and a small gutter. It could be skipping the gutter entirely. We see that a lot with metal roofs. And anything above an 8-12, if you have a 5-inch gutter, chances are it's gonna skip over it slightly. So that's an issue we see. Also with leaf guards. If you have leaf guards in your gutter system now and you have a steep roof, the chances are really good that it's gonna skip. Some water is gonna skip the top of it just because now you have a shield on top, water hits it, it doesn't drain as fast, so it's gonna skip over depending on the style of leaf guard that you have on there. But those are the most common reasons we see for gutters overflowing. But the main one would just be clogging. Keep them clean. That's the biggest thing with gutters. If you keep them clean, they'll last so much longer. So these are just a few of the things that we come across. We've seen the long and short of it. We've been doing it for a while. We've seen a whole bunch of different problems. If you have any problems that we didn't cover on this video, feel free to reach out. We'd be happy to give you advice and direct you in the right direction. Keep in mind, we do repairs, we do full replacements, we do cleaning, we do all that good stuff. So if you're ever in need of anything, check out our website. We got a ton of info on there, and all our contact information is in the description below. So thank you guys for watching. Hope it helped you guys, and there's more videos coming shortly, so stay tuned.